Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm running through my Chelsea Man City all-time combined 11 in the Premier League era. Unfortunately, Chelsea are not repping combined 11s at the moment. Their squad, I don't think one player would start for Man City. I actually can't think of anyone that would start for Man City. Maybe Reece James, maybe when he's fully fit, maybe Ben Chilwell as a left back. Apart from that, it's not looking good for Chelsea at the moment. But their all-time record in the Premier League, some of the players that they've had are absolutely incredible. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Who would be in your all-time Chelsea Man City combined 11? Huge game. Obviously, I'll be covering it on the channel. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. Right, in goal, it's pretty straightforward. Peter Cech for me, probably the third or fourth best keeper in the history of the Premier League. Ederson is getting closer year on year. His natural kind of shot stopping isn't quite there to the level of Van der Sar, Schmeichel and Peter Cech. Obviously, Peter Cech gets the nod. Right back is very, very hard. I think most Chelsea fans would say Ivanovic is the best right back they've probably seen at their club. Big shout outs for Ferreira being part of a very mean Chelsea defence with Mourinho. But you can't not include Kyle Walker, probably the best right back in the history of the Premier League, now a treble winner. If Gary Neville's considered the best right back in the Premier League before last season, then you look at Kyle Walker, who's just matched that achievement. A few less Premier League titles, of course, more physicality, he's more of an athlete. I think he's smarter on the ball than Gary Neville. Maybe he hasn't got the best delivery compared to Gary Neville in the overlap. It has to be Kyle Walker right back over Ivanovic. Ivanovic, what a player. He was so good defensively, he could play right back or centre back, but he never quite, you could never say that Ivanovic was the best right back in the league, even though he was superb for Chelsea, just because maybe a little bit immobile compared to other fullbacks that we're talking about, and that's the only reason he doesn't get in. The two centre backs, straightforward. I know you have to have a Terry Carvalho kind of combination mentioned. Obviously the lowest ever amount of goals conceded in a single Premier League season. I think that goes up as impressive a record as the Invincibles, Centurions, because even City, I've seen so many great City sides conceding the amount of goals that Chelsea side did. I think, was it 13? Absolutely scary stuff how many clean sheets they kept. But if you have to take that player individually, John Terry's the best centre back I think that the league's ever seen. I think he's so good on the ball. I think he was modern, adaptable. I think he could have played when he was in his peak in 2004, 5, 6, that kind of era. He could have played now. I think a few centre backs not quite as good on the ball, maybe the Sol Campbells of the world, not quite as adaptable as John Terry was, and Rio Ferdinand. I think he was ahead of his time as well. And then alongside him, I think Vincent Kompany has to get in there. Vincent Kompany has this iconic status in the Premier League. I think it's a little bit why he's been kept in his Burnley job as long as he has, with all due respect, because he is considered an absolute legend in the Premier League. The goal against Leicester City, the goal against United, the header, being part of the 6-1, being part of the Aguero season, and having that transition, winning Premier League titles with 3 different managers at Man City is very, very respectable. He was part of the Centurions as well. Vincent Kompany with John Terry would be a disgustingly good partnership. At left back, I say this all the time, but I think Ashley Cole's the best left back in the history of football. Certainly defensively, you couldn't get past him. Obviously kept prime Ronaldo at bay. And then there's a world where going forward, could he have scored more goals? I think in the modern era of football, I think he could have played inverted. I think he could have knocked the ball around, controlled the game, but even bombing forward as a kind of almost Alphonso Davies-like overlapping, pacey fullback, I think he had that in his ability as well. What a player Ashley Cole is. And every time we do combined 11s and England 11s and all this kind of stuff, I actually think pound for pound, Ashley Cole might be the best player in this video. That's how good I think he was. Maybe I'm a little bit too Ashley Cole heavy on that one, but you have to let me know in the comments. The midfield is actually City centric. Obviously you have to throw in someone like Kante. What he did at Chelsea, it was a little bit short-lived in terms of longevity. Obviously Makelele, obviously Ballack, Essien, they all get big shouts. The same with, I know Gareth Barry gets a lot of kind of joke tweets, but Gareth Barry certainly gets a mention for a lot of City fans. Fernandinho, absolutely incredible as well. At the base of midfield, it's Yaya Toure, because I don't think there's a midfielder that can do everything he can do at the same level. Shoot, create goals, drive from midfield with the ball at his feet. Passing was outrageously good. And then even defensively, when he wanted to, he could cover defensive ground so well, make up so many yards on players that are traveling past him. I think at the back end of his career, he was a little bit worried about maybe injuries or a little bit worried about fatigue. He's trying to save himself for the big moments where Pellegrini in particular wanted him to score, 20 goals a season, which he did. I think Yaya Toure at the base of midfield, if you told him to be disciplined, would be very, very disciplined. Alongside him, Frank Lampard, obviously a Man City legend, loved scoring against Chelsea when he was on loan from New York City FC. Obviously one of the highest scoring players to ever play in the Premier League, period, let alone a midfielder. This is a guy that score any kind of goal. Finishing was better than Scholes, better than Gerrard. I don't think it makes him a better midfielder than those two in terms of total midfielder. I don't think Chelsea fans would disagree. I don't think he controlled the game in the same way that Scholes could. I don't think he could power a side through games like Gerrard could either. Lampard has to go into any combined 11 featuring Chelsea because of the amount of goals, the amount of world-class moments, even goals in the Champions League. It's easy, it's said as done. But David Silva would have got very, very close for a lot of pure City fans that are kind of wanting to be completely rational about the quality of football. I think David Silva might actually be a better footballer than Frank Lampard. Lampard's legacy is so long and vast in the Premier League, you can't not include him, really. Alongside him, 4-3-3, advanced midfield, Kevin De Bruyne. I think every season we're creeping into the territory of calling him the best midfielder to ever play in the Premier League. Technically as good as anyone, but I think people underrate his ability to control the game, know when to speed the game up, know when to slow it down. Everything goes through him. He can play anywhere across the midfield, even use it as a false 9 at points with his time at City, and obviously scores so many big goals, a weak foot hat-trick and 4 goals against Wolves away to get City close to winning the Premier League. That was one of the most underrated performances in the history of Premier League football. It was absolutely scary how good he is, and his ability to change things. You know, he changed the Aston Villa game when we were losing. He's changed many other big moments for City as well. Front three on the left, as much as I think Eden Hazard was a little bit overrated, as a City fan, I almost want to say Leroy Sané had a bit more about him on some level. Even Sterling. You have to say the technical ability of Eden Hazard was scary, and you have to kind of throw him into these debates with pure technical ability. Maybe Joe Cole. Actually, as I think about it, I'd rather have Joe Cole. I throw in Joe Cole left wing, and then right wing Bernardo Silva for me. Bernardo Silva, every season we're talking about him scoring big goals. He's popping up all across the front three, dropping into left back at points. The way he links up play, he is the definition of what Cruyff was all about. He's very Cruyffian in that sense, in terms of, you know, Johan Cruyff could come deep, link up play, take on players individually and open things up in a unique way whilst never giving the ball away. It's very scary how good Bernardo Silva is, and he's getting better. The more I think about it, okay, Eden Hazard's getting in. What am I on about? I'm not gonna put Joe Cole in over Eden Hazard. Even Joe Cole said that his time at Lille, he's never seen anything like Eden Hazard. And down the middle, obviously Erling Haaland gets very close to a nomination already, despite how young he is, despite his second season in the Premier League. Didier Drogba obviously has to get a mention, but you know, Sergio Aguero, one of the highest scorers in the history of the Premier League. The Aguero moment, big goals against Chelsea as well. A couple of really world-class efforts at Stamford Bridge. I'm thinking the one in the black kit, Pellegrini. Joe Hart absolutely fumbled it that day, or was it Willie? Joe Hart fumbled a moment against Chelsea where we could have won that game, and Aguero laced it left foot near post against Peter Cech. It was scary how good it was. Scary how good it was. But Aguero, it's hard because of Haaland's kind of name, the brand, what's happening in modern football with Haaland and Mbappe. People don't put Aguero in the same bracket, and it's a shame. It might take 10 years of kind of football fans to have this revisionist approach about what Aguero represented to City, who he was as a footballer, his range of finishing, his ability to score any type of goal was really, it was world class for a few periods. And you do look at the lack of Champions League silverware will be frustrating for him and frustrating for City fans for obvious reasons. But in these kind of combined 11s, he was a better striker than Drogba, more clutch moments, better goal to game ratio. I actually think he linked up play better than Drogba. I think he could have dropped deep and bring others into the game. He would have been a more modern striker as well. If he was in his prime now for Guardiola, wow, absolutely scary. And I think he'd be scoring Haaland numbers. That's the reality. Jose Mourinho, Guardiola, what a combination for managing this side. Obviously Mourinho would be laying out the cones for Guardiola, and this side would dominate every single side in history. There's no question about it. It's a very scary combined 11. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. This is obviously a form of preview, I guess, for the game, so I'll be reacting to the game afterwards. A little bit worried because I think Chelsea might have a little bit of upturn in confidence after beating Spurs, but there we have it. Let me know what you think in the comments down below, and I'll see you very soon.